Hi everyone, this is the Class 5 supplemental video where I'll be showing you where the 5 equations of motion for constant acceleration come from. So let's dive right in. So just to remind ourselves, the average acceleration, A average, is defined as the change in velocity, delta V, divided by change in time. And in the specific case where we have constant acceleration, so that's what we're going to be talking about through the duration of these slides. So when we have constant acceleration, remember the average value of the acceleration becomes the same as the instantaneous value. So it's always the same value. And so we can make this assumption then that the instantaneous acceleration A is the same as the average acceleration, which we of course know is V final minus V initial over T final minus T initial. Okay, and so now we're just going to adopt this new notation that helps us simplify things by getting rid of those final and initial subscripts. So the first thing I want to do is define my initial time for any problem is going to be time 0. And then some later time, T final, we're going to just call it T. So with this notation, then I can say that the corresponding initial velocity, which occurs at time t equals 0, we'll just call that v naught, where that naught just means at time t equals 0. And then we can drop the f subscript on our final velocity and say that the velocity that occurs at time t, which is our final time, we're just going to say that that's velocity v. Realistically, we know it corresponds to t final, which is at time t final. Okay, and so then if I go ahead and look at my top equation and I plug in V final is V, V initial is V naught, T final is just called T, and T initial is just 0, I get A equals V minus V naught divided by T. And now we're not really going to do anything new, we're just going to rearrange some stuff. So first thing I want to do is multiply both sides by T, then I get AT equals V minus V naught. And then I'm just going to add V naught to both sides of my equation, and I get AT plus V naught equals V. Okay, and so this is my first equation of motion. It's relating velocity and time to acceleration. Okay, it's important to note that this is only true when the acceleration is constant. It would be true if I had A average in there instead of the instantaneous acceleration A at any time. But when we have just the A in there, that means that this is only true if we have constant acceleration. In general, in this class, we're going to have constant acceleration. Okay, and so just a side note, this equation reminds me a lot of y equals mx plus b. So if I were to plot v versus t, then I would see immediately that I should have a slope that's equal to the acceleration a, which makes sense. It should be a straight line, right, with constant slope a, and that's good because we have constant acceleration. And then the y-intercept, that b term, the piece that's independent of time, well, that, if I look at my equation, looks just like V naught. And so that tells me that my y-intercept is V naught, which makes sense because that's the place where my line crosses the v-axis at time t equals 0. So it all makes sense. Okay, and so now let's move on to the next two equations of motion in our list. And so we want to answer the question, how far does an object with constant acceleration move? So that's not something we can answer with the previous question. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to define our new notation. I have the same first 3 columns as last time, and now I'm just adding in this 4th column, which is position. So just like with V initial, I called it V naught. Now X initial, so my initial position, I call that X naught. And similarly, V final, we just called it V. Now I'm just going to call X final, which is my position at time T final. I'm just going to call that X. Okay, so with that in mind, we're just going to remember our definition for the average velocity. So remember, V average is delta X over T. In this case, it'll be just T because delta T is really T final minus T initial. T initial is 0, so I just end up with T. And so I could rewrite this as X minus X naught, right? That's by X final minus X initial divided by T. Okay, and this equation is always true. All right, and so on the next slide, I'm going to derive the next 2 equations of motion for constant acceleration. V average is equal to V plus V naught divided by 2. So this relates the average velocity to the instantaneous velocity at the beginning and the end of my time frame. And then we're also going to use the equations of motion. We're also going to derive this equation of motion. X equals X naught plus 1/2 V plus V naught times T. Okay, and both of these are only true when we have constant acceleration. So let's see where those two boxed equations at the top of the slide come from. So first of all, I'm going to go back to this plot that I showed you on the previous slide, where I said, okay, so this relationship V equals AT plus V naught. This reminds me a lot of Y equals MX plus B. So I have it plotted here. I have my slope of A, which is a constant, and I have my y-intercept, which is V naught. Okay, so with that in mind, we have to remember that the displacement, delta x, is really just the area under a velocity versus time curve. So what am I going to do here? I want to calculate the area between my blue line and the time axis. So to do that, remember we want to divide our graph up into things that are easy to calculate area for. So I'm going to divide it up into a triangle and a square. Okay, so I have my yellow triangle here and my green rectangle. Rectangle, not a square, sorry. So those are my two areas that I need to calculate, and then if I add them together, I would get the total displacement during the time frame from t naught, which is equal to 0, to time t. So that would be the displacement during that time. Okay, so first of all, my height of my triangle is going to be my final velocity. That's the maximum height on my graph right at this time t. So that's this point right here. That's going to be V minus V naught, right? So that's the distance defined by this yellow arrow because I need the distance between V and V naught. So it would be V minus V naught. I can also define the height of that rectangle. It has a height that's just exactly equal to V naught, right? So it's exactly equal to that initial velocity. And then I need to know the base or the width of both of those guys. They're the same. And if I look at it here, it goes from time t equals 0 to t, and so that tells me that width should be t. Okay, so my area then is going to be the area of the yellow triangle, which is 1/2 W1H1, plus the area of the rectangle, which is going to be W2 times H2, where I have W2, H2, W1, and H1 defined over here on my graph. So plugging in, W1 is T, H1 is V minus V naught, W2 is also T, and then H2 is V naught. I can go ahead and simplify that, and I get that delta x is equal to 1/2 V plus V naught times T, and this is true whenever the acceleration is constant. And I was able to get that just by simplifying the math. So remember, we have to distribute the 1/2 t to both the v and the minus v naught. So you end up with 1/2 t times v minus 1/2 t times v naught plus t times v naught. So that would give me a total of 1/2 t times v naught added to my 1/2 t times v. Okay. All right, so next up, I'm going to use that equation, and basically I'm just going to rearrange it, right? So I have delta x divided by t is equal to 1/2 v plus v naught. So all I did here was I divided both sides of my equation by t. And then I remember the fact that delta x over t, well, that's really just my definition of the average velocity. And that is something that's always true. So what I can say here is the left-hand side of my equation, delta x divided by t, well, that's just really the average. So the average must be 1/2 v plus v naught. Okay, and so now I have both of the two equations that are in the blue box at the top of the slide, and they are two equations on your list of 5 equations for the constant acceleration, motion with constant acceleration. Okay, so now we're more than halfway there. We have 3 of our 5 equations, so let's get back to the last 2 here. So really this next one is still dealing with displacement. So far we know how to get position as a function of time if we know the initial and the final velocity. But often what we really know are what we call initial conditions. So most of the time you won't know that final velocity. What you'll know is the initial position, the initial velocity, and then also the acceleration. And so we need to come up with a way that we could calculate the displacement or the final position just with those initial conditions. So that's the purpose of this last equation. And I can find it using two of the equations that we've actually already derived. So I'm going to use this equation on the right, which tells us about the position as a function of time. And then I'm also going to use this equation on the left, which tells us about the velocity as a function of time. So when I look at my top equation, which is the equation on the right here, I see that I have this variable v, and I know this variable v in terms of the initial condition v naught and the acceleration a. And so I can actually use this definition that I have down here on my second line to get rid of the v in my top equation, since that's the thing that I'm not normally given, so that's the thing that I don't normally know. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in. And it looks a little messy at first. Here we see we have v naught plus v naught, so that gives me a 2v naught in there. And then we should be able to simplify a little bit further by distributing that 1/2 to each component. So 1/2 times 2v naught, that would just give me v naught, and then I would have a 1/2 at. I can also distribute that time factor through to both the 2v naught and the at. So what I end up getting at the end of the day is x equals x naught plus v naught t plus 1/2 at squared. And that is the equation in the blue box at the top of the chart. So that's the guy I was looking for. So this equation is only true when acceleration is constant, and it's the fourth of 5 equations of motion for constant acceleration. All right, so we're really almost there now. And what we want to do now is to find an equation that doesn't depend on time. So what if we don't know the time frame over which something is happening? So we don't know the difference in time between the initial position and the final position, or the initial velocity and the final velocity. Those two things, they should all be occurring over the same frame of time, starting at t equals 0 and ending at time t. So if we don't know that time, and it's not the thing that we're looking for, then we want to have an equation that doesn't include time that we'll be able to use when we don't know that time frame. So that's our last goal here. And this one, I will not lie, this one is a little complicated. So don't worry if you don't follow all of the math steps. It's not that important that you know, it's not important at all that you know how to derive this yourself. It's something that you'll always be given, but it's nice to see where it comes from. So let's take a look at where it comes from. First of all, I'm again starting with those same two equations that we started with last time. The v equals v naught plus at, and then x equals x naught plus 1/2 v plus v naught times time. Okay, so starting here, first thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of time. That's my goal, right? I want to get rid of that t. I do not want that in my equation. So I'm going to use my top equation. I'm just going to rearrange it and solve for t, and then I'm going to plug that value in for time down here. So how did I do that? If we rearrange, I get v minus v naught divided by a is equal to time, and then I plug it in for that t down there in my second equation, and I get something that's kind of ugly, right? So x equals x naught plus 1/2, v plus v naught in parentheses, and then v minus v naught divided by a. Okay, next step, I'm just going to go ahead and take my a. It's divided inside of these parentheses. I'm just going to pull it outside of the parentheses. And so I would get 1/2 1 over a, v plus v naught multiplied by v minus v naught, all added to x naught still. All right, and now this is going to be just a flashback, right? A blast from your past. We're going to FOIL. So I bet it's probably been a long time since you used FOIL to multiply anything. So what you do to FOIL is you do the first, the outside, the inside, and then the last, right? So I would get v times v, which is v squared, plus the outside, which would be v minus v times minus v naught. Then I would multiply the inside, so that gives me plus v times v naught, and then the outside, which would give me minus v naught squared. So plugging that in, here I see that I have two terms here, v times v naught and then minus v times v naught. They're the same but opposite in sign, and so those guys cancel. And so I'm actually left with something that is pretty straightforward. It's not as complicated as it seems like it's going to be. So next step, I'm just going to subtract, and this is all equal to the vector x, remember, right? So my final position. Next up, I'm just going to subtract x naught from both sides of my equation. And then also I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by 2a. So I'm left with 2a times x minus x naught equals v squared minus v naught squared. All right, and then I can recognize in here that delta x is the same thing as this x minus x naught, so it's the same as that term in parentheses. And then I can just rearrange by adding v naught squared to both sides, and I get my final equation of motion, v squared equals v naught squared plus 2a delta x. And again, don't worry about all of these intermediate steps. Okay. All right, so that's it. That's where our equations of motion come from, and I'll see you in class.